welcome to episode 5 of the podcast, which is P.O.D, which is People of DCTUK. My name is Sophie, and today I'm with lots of doggies and also Parool. Hello, Parool.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good. How are you?
I'm energised, excited, and keen to show off my doggies here.
I know. So who have we got with us right now?
So we've got Toby, who is an American Cocker Spaniel. He's from Northern Ireland, and he's obviously chocolate. He's very spatially unaware, a little bit clumsy.
Just move your mic close to your face. No,
he's spatially unaware, very clumsy, but he's the most loving and adorable. Like you see, he's plonked himself on you to say, you're his.
Yeah.
This is Sydney. Sydney, come say hello, sweetheart. This is Sydney. He is a Springer Spaniel, but he's not crazy. Are you, darling? Can I have a kiss? So he's also a rescue dog. He is 6 years old, and he just likes to run around in the park, and he will grab a ball and bring it to you. And young Mindy over there, who is the cameraman's technician.
Yes, she is today, isn't
In fact,
she?
she's the first AD, or she the assistant director, or she's producer.
Oh, definitely producer. Yeah.
So Mindy is 4. She's also a show Cocker Spaniel, and she's my first female Cocker Spaniel. She's also rescued from Belfast, and she likes to be the centre of attention, so I'm surprised that she's not sitting here today.
I know.
Normally she is, but yeah.
Hi, darling.
She likes to give kisses. There you go.
This is actually my heaven. I love dogs and I love presenting. So we're in our element there. Here, are we, Mindy? Yes, we are. So, dogs aside, who are you? Tell me about you.
Okay, so I'm Parool. I am 51.
Oh, you look amazing.
Thank you. You know what they say about Asian skin? And lots of anti-wrinkle cream as well. So I'm from the Midlands. I studied in the Midlands, lived there for 18 years, moved around the world, moved to Sydney, Berlin, Paris, and landed in London for 20 years, and went to Belfast for 6 years, and now I'm here in Washington, which is just south of Newcastle. So yeah, I'm 51. I'm obviously of Asian descent, single for anyone out there who is eligible, and blonde hair and blue-eyed, and preferably male. In fact, only male.
Only male.
I don't know why I said that, but the whole world's now going to know that. That's okay. That's fine. I
love it.
What else? So, what else can I tell you about myself?
So let's start right at the beginning. So
Okay.
you went to university in the Midlands.
That's why I went to Aston University in Birmingham and studied French and German.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So are you bilingual or multilingual?
Multilingual. So I speak French, German, Russian, Gujarati and English, and also studied Latin at school. So I was a linguist. Not very cunning. I was a cunning linguist. But I was very, very naturally gifted in the arts, as you can tell, and languages. So I went to Aston University 4 years, trained as a translator interpreter in Berlin at the time when the wall came down. Now, today's a very interesting day.
Okay.
Because it is the
Anniversary of the Berlin Wall?
It's the 33rd year of the Berlin Wall opening up on this very day, 33 years ago,
Wow.
1989.
Oh my gosh, you've got good memory.
A very good memory. Well, it's because my entire degree changed because we started the course in October. By November, the landscape had changed in Europe, particularly in Germany and France. And so our entire degree was based on reunification of Germany.
Wow.
So it was really interesting, yes.
That is amazing.
Absolutely.
So what was it like living in Germany?
In Berlin, I enjoyed it there. I mean, it was bizarre because it was a city which was very divided. So I lived in the former American sector. It was absolutely pristine, and you'd walk across the road to former East Germany, the DDR, the Deutsche Democratic Republic, as it's called at the time, and it was like a completely different world. It was like there was no grass there was no water there was no greenery. The buildings were they were crumbling, and balconies were literally crumbling and falling on people's heads. It was an absolute dichotomy of architecture and meeting of minds. There were issues in those days because Yugoslavia had just kind of evolved or was breaking up into the individual states. So you had the Serbian conflict, you had the Hungarian conflict, or lots of people moving over via Hungary into the East Germany and then into West Berlin. There's a lot of social unrest. You may remember, people were being burnt alive in the streets. It was very, very heartbreaking. But it's taken, 33 years. And now I went back to Germany about 8 years ago, and I went to Berlin. It's absolutely different, completely different. But in those days, it was the former East and the West meeting, and those two minds of political kind of thought processes just weren't aligned at the time. For me, it was an adventure. I went there to obviously study German. I wrote a thesis called, and I don't know if your viewers understand German, but it was Deutschland den Deutschen, Berliner den Berlinern, eine sozioökonomische Analyse der Wiedervereinigung Deutschlands. And
for me, that means?
It means Germany for the Germans, Berlin's for the Berliners, which means basically foreigners out, and it was a socio-economical analysis of a reunification of Germany.
Wow.
There you go.
That is amazing.
30,000 words in German.
That is incredible. What an absolute achievement.
Yes, absolutely. I got first for it as well, which was really cool.
Congratulations. I don't doubt it. So you obviously can't see this, but this house is absolutely incredible. I mean,
Thank you.
There is a creative mind behind it, let me tell you. So you went from Germany back to the UK.
Yes.
And where did you go then?
So actually I went from Germany, I went from Berlin straight to Paris.
Oh,
and
lovely.
I stayed in Paris for about 6 months, again studying and just immersing myself in a language. And then I moved back to Birmingham to graduate. And then I started working. So my first job, in fact, I got offered a role for a bank in Leeds, but I turned it down and worked for a marketing agency in Northamptonshire. So I moved to Northamptonshire and studied, worked and trained there as a program manager, marketeer, and then eventually discovered that I was a visually perceptive person, hence all the visuals around.
Yeah.
And started working in television at the BBC.
Amazing.
Yes.
So you've worked for the Beeb.
For the Beeb, I worked for the BBC, Channel 4, Discovery. I was head of PR for News Corporation, Star News and Star Plus. And my boss was a guy called James Murdoch.
Oh my gosh. Tell us about that.
That was quite scary. So my job there was to launch Star News and Star Plus, which are Asian channels. At the time, they had 49 out of the top 50 programs coming out of India, with 500 million direct-to-home subscribers. So it's a really big channel. And to put it into context, Sky, or Sky B over here, Sky as it's now called, Sky TV, has about 7, maybe 8 million subscribing homes. So it's a huge channel. And my job was to launch it on, at the time, Telewest Active Digital, BT Analog, and all the different cable companies that existed in those days, this is 21 years ago. And we launched loads of TV programs. We launched the Indian version of Who Wants to Be Millionaire across the United Kingdom, and then rolled out the channel over into Europe. It was very exciting. I met some big stars like Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan. Now I can pronounce their names, but at the time I was like, who is he? Who is he? And obviously I don't speak Hindi, so it was a little bit tricky.
Sure.
But we enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun.
And that was down in London?
That was in London. Well, actually, it was in Isleworth, which is close to Heathrow Airport.
Oh,
That's
okay.
where the Sky headquarters are, or Sky B as it was at the time. Yeah, we had lots of fun in London.
And do the TV industry really work hard and play harder?
We work hard, we play incredibly hard, and we let our hair down. Hence, I've got no more hair left. Yes, absolutely. I've had many a drunken moment. I went to the Mobos.
Oh, wow.
In East London. What else have I done? Lots of stuff. Absolutely loads of stuff. I met Sunita when she was at London Pride.
Wow.
Who else? Graham Norton, all kinds of stars. It was good. But the thing about television is, you see them on TV, there are these big superstars with really big personalities. When you meet them in real life, they are just normal people.
Just people.
Normal people with nice personalities. Some can be a little bit wicked, some can be a little bit, let's just say, temperamental. I've worked with Anne Diamond and Kirsty Young at the BBC as well. Some people, television is a really interesting place to work, and it's full of personalities. Probably why I work there as well.
Love this. So did you find it was quite a diverse place to work?
Television, yes. In London, television was incredibly diverse. When I went to BBC, we had a target. 69% of Londoners actually are non-white. So, sorry, 29%. Therefore, the BBC in London wanted to recruit 29% diverse employees. It was different in the regions because you just don't have, BME talent wanting to work in television. It's not the best paid industry to work in. So people work there because they're either visually perceptive, or they want to work in the creative industries.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say a real stereotypical kind of sweeping statement, which is
Yeah.
Asians tend to want to be opticians or doctors or lawyers or pharmacists because the money is there. But the money is not in television, but it's a really passionate place to work. It's very diverse, and you can make a real difference if you think differently, and if you are creative and you've got a really good creative concept, you can do really well in television. Absolutely.
Did you ever come across any barriers being an Asian man in that industry?
Being a Gaysian as well, yes. There were some barriers. I mean, for example, I worked as a clerk, which was like the lowest or the most junior grade at the time at the BBC, which is like B2, which is like an artist contracts clerk. I applied for, I think, about 85 jobs. They're called BBC boards. And you had to prepare and do presentations and put together like program concepts and scripts and stuff, and I had lots of these boards, but I didn't tend to get anywhere with them. And it probably was due to my age, and although I had experience, I didn't have years and years of production or producer experience under my skin. Sorry, under my belt. The only way to progress was to actually leave the BBC and go work for another channel where they appreciated the experience you had from BBC and a training. So I then ended up working for Channel 4 and then Discovery Channel, and then Planet 24 Television, and then Mentor Midlands, which is now part of a large big conglomerate. And then I ended up working as a regulator. So I worked for the Broadcasting Standards Commission.
Wow.
As a fairness and privacy case manager. So I would regulate and investigate fairness and privacy cases where broadcasters had misbehaved. It was very good.
Oh my gosh, can you tell us anything? I mean, is it all a bit GDPR? But
It's very confidential. But after that, I then went to work for the Radio Authority and regulated radio stations.
Wow.
And I helped launch a radio station down on the south coast called Wave FM, which was interesting. And then we had a lot of, basically, when you're an investigator or regulatory body, you are investigating formal complaints from either viewers or listeners or corporate entities who are complaining against their competitors. So I wouldn't be able to talk to you about the wherewithals of some of the complaints, but it was very interesting. That's what I'll say.
is that different to Ofcom then?
Well, the Broadcasting Standards Commission, the Radio Authority, and ICSIS then became Ofcom. So at the time when I worked there, this is about 21 years ago, there was a consultation going through government to consult all the different stakeholders on what we called at the time a super regulatory body. And that super regulatory body then became Ofcom once the Broadcasting Act changed. I think it was modernised in 95, and then I think it was 2001, and then 2001, and then Ofcom came into fruition, and a new regulatory quango that was set up.
So did you then decide to kind of leave the TV industry and the radio industry alone and move on, or was it something you'd really got your teeth into and you wanted to stay?
I got my teeth into it, but again, being Asian, I wanted to earn lots of money. So I then went to work in PR. So I worked for the world's largest PR consultancy called Shandwick.
Okay.
And I headed up their brand and product placement division, and I'd be placing vehicles like Ford, Subaru and Isuzu vehicles on TV shows or feature films.
Wow.
Kit Kat, Polo, all Nestle confectionery products, Lever Brothers home care products and clothes care products on TV shows, things like sliding doors, shooting fish, James Bond 19, what else? EastEnders, Casualty. So I ended up working back in television, but on the other side of the fence, I was there as somebody who helped them procure props and high value items and get them onto TV shows. In those days, product placement was illegal. The ITC, which is another regulator, which then became part of Ofcom, the ITC banned product placement. So you couldn't have like a front face kind of like Coca-Cola can sitting here between us. But what you could do is very subtly place branded products as props in the background. So when you're on, if you watch, say, EastEnders or Casualty or Coronation Street, you might see some products in the background or on shelves or in some of the shops in their studios. Those are very carefully placed, so you can kind of recognise the logos, but it's not obvious that Cadbury's are placing all of the chocolates on a Nestle are placing all of the products in a shop on a show. Like, for example, Coronation Street was sponsored by Cadbury's and had Nestle products. So, you have to be very clever.
Wow.
Yeah. So I remember there was a show, what's the programme called? Oh, it was with, what's it called? It was with Alas Rolo. It'll come to me. But I'll give you a good example. So when Casualty revamped their show, they had like a a feature coming out of, or a shot coming out of a floor and moving up the up into the operational operating studio, and what you could see is a medical floor, and that was Dulux paint product I placed there. So it's basically just Dulux paints.
No way.
Absolutely. And on Sliding Doors, which is a film with Gwyneth Paltrow, we placed some really nice paint product in the film, and she was actually film painting her, I think it was her apartment or something. You might remember that scene.
Yeah.
What else have we done on TV? It's a long time ago. I've got a really bad memory. One of my claim to fames would have been, oh yes, on James Bond. So James Bond, When the World Was Not Enough, I placed a Nestle coffee vending machine in one of their scenes where they were in Turkey and they had this pipeline explosion scene. Unfortunately, the coffee vending machine bit got edited out of the film.
Oh.
But we are, and that's one.
So always the way, isn't it?
It's always the way. But yeah, it's one of the pitfalls of working television or feature films is that little excerpt could be edited out, and it was. The claim to fame.
Yeah, that's a cool claim to fame, though.
Absolutely, yes.
So where did you go from there?
So from television, I then moved back to London and started working in advertising. So I worked for Saatchi & Saatchi.
Oh,
I went
wow.
from Saatchi and then I went to work in, I worked for the world's second largest search engine called ask.co.uk. And launched,
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
And then launched their first brand offline extension called Ask Jeeves Concierge across Great Britain. So I did that. I worked in London for about 20 years in advertising, marketing, PR, worked through all the big brands, enjoyed myself. That's where I partied hard.
Yeah, I was going to say
I'd
that
get
kind
a
of
last tube
industry,
home,
right?
I'd get a night bus home, massively drunk, and the amount of times I'd go back to work the next day and I'd be hungover, but London was full of partying.
Yeah,
and lots of
for
gin and
sure.
tonics.
Do you miss it?
I don't actually. I mean, I've lived in Berlin, Paris, I've lived in London, I've lived in Belfast, I've lived in Sydney, I now live just south of Newcastle. I like the quieter life. I mean, I've got a really good lifestyle here.
It's nice.
I haven't got the hustle and bustle of London, and I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Enjoying it, yes, absolutely.
So you went from London when you were doing the advertising and the marketing and the PR. Where did you go then? Because you just said Sydney. This is news. This is news to me.
So I moved to Sydney for 4 years, but I actually came back after 6 months. I went there to emigrate, and I wanted to get the home and away and neighbours kind of bit out of my skin. So I went and lived and worked. Again, I worked for another advertising agency in Sydney and lived on the North Shore. I enjoyed Australia. I really enjoy the life cycle there, but I miss the theatre and I miss the arts. And the sunshine, clearly I'm not a sun seeker, but the sunshine in Australia can be very, very, very harsh.
Yeah.
And I kind of just missed all the creativity of London, and I missed the big brands and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed living in Australia and you know, flying over to New Zealand and around the Pan Pacifics, but it felt a little bit out in the wilderness there. And I was used to, you know, managing really big funded projects or really big marketing budgets like 20-30 million pounds, and the biggest budget I had in Sydney was 2,000 Australian dollars, which is £600 a month, and I was like,
oh, it's so different.
Very, very different. I mean,
Wow.
you know, marketing as a concept, or advertising concept in Australia is completely worlds apart to, you know, running big big multi-billion pound advertising campaigns across the world. So I kind of missed that kind of cutthroat, you know, go kind of approach in advertising. So I ended up moving back again.
Why do you think it's so different over there in terms of like how much they spend on marketing?
I think it's due to populations. You know, Australia's got 16 million people. It doesn't have that breadth of channels. This is going back 20, 25 years ago. The new media kind of .coms had only just been developed. So at the time in Australia, Yahoo was the biggest search engine. Google wasn't over there at the time. Now, obviously, you have the number one search engine in Australia. But Yahoo was the search engine over there. And that was more of like an info portal rather than a search engine. Also, at the time, you know, Australians were more paper-based consumers, newspaper-based, obviously News Corp is over there as well. It was a very traditional kind of advertising milieu, environment to work in. It was for me an absolute culture shock to go from London, where you could you'd media plan and you'd be doing like 20 million over here and 30 million over there and 10,000 online, etc., to a world of consumers who would spend like $30-40 a week and they would expect, 1 or 2 inquiries coming in, and I'm used to like 40-50 million inquiries annually. So for example, on Ask, when I left ask.co.uk, we got something like 56 million inquiries per month, which is quite a large entity. And then moving to Australia, where the expectation was 15 or 20 inquiries per week would be a good result. It's like it's worlds apart.
Very different.
Very, very different.
So that's why you up sticks after 6 months. Could you just not do it?
I actually missed England. I missed the brands and the hustle and bustle of life, and big budgets, as I said, and some of the foods and stuff. And also I got Australia out of my system. I said, been there, done it, tick. Moved on.
Sometimes you just need to do something right.
Absolutely. Just do it. Carpe diem, get on with it.
How are you with spiders? Because I know.
Critters, as they
Spiders
call
in
them.
Australia, ooh.
I absolutely hate spiders. I think one of the things I didn't like about Sydney is at night when you'd go out, there would be cockroaches absolutely everywhere on the streets. You see the pavements moving, you're like, and I'd be going like this, and I wouldn't want to crush one because I'm Hindu, and you don't kill animals or insects. And I was going like this, and you see these cockroaches going all over the place. Where I lived on the 22nd floor in this 5-star service department hotel block, which was lovely.
Lovely.
And what I understood and realised is that cockroaches and spiders don't actually go that far up.
Oh, really?
So being on a 22nd floor was a good thing. Never met a spider or a cockroach in my flat. But in Sydney, there's lots of like Victorian villas and ground floor kind of like converted houses, and they were riddled with cockroaches. Not a good thing.
No, not my
Not a good
thing. I
thing, not at all.
can't do bugs and insects. It's one of the reasons I haven't been to Australia, which is a bit pathetic. The spiders for me, like the size of them, and just the fact that they'd be in your life,
Yes,
right? Unless you
absolutely.
live on the 22nd floor of a 5-star.
Oof, yes.
Which maybe one day.
We should try Australia.
Yeah.
It's a good place to go on holiday long term. To go and live, when you're there and the sun is beating down on you morning, noon and night, and you're at the beach morning, noon and night, you kind of lose the novelty.
Yeah, and I imagine it's quite tiring. So when you're in the sun a lot, it's really tiring, isn't it?
And it does age you.
Oh.
Big time.
Oh, not good.
Not good.
Not
good
you,
at
though.
all.
You look wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
You do. You look wonderful.
Anti-wrinkle cream. Because I'm worth it.
So we're trying to get a brand deal.
L'Oreal, but there we go.
So what about after Australia? What happened then?
So after Australia, I moved back to London, and then I started working in marketing. And then I ended up being headhunted to work for the government. So I worked for the Department of Education. I launched Every Child Matters, which was a £9 billion change management programme for the Prime Minister at the time was Gordon Brown. So I worked for Gordon Brown, then I worked for David Cameron, and then Theresa May. I haven't worked for Boris. Yes, I worked in government communications for all kinds of government, big major initiatives, enjoyed it. And then I would plan communications or marketing strategies across the United Kingdom. And it was good. It was very good. Now that was very exciting because you've got big budgets.
Yeah.
You're making an impact to the entire nation of 69 million people, helping them either modernise their homes or install boilers or ground source air source heat pumps or app services around children's needs, or what else I do. I work for Technology Strategy Board, launch for catapults. It was good. It was very exciting, and I've just had a phone call today. I might be going back to work in government communications again, so let's see what happens.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I imagine that's a more rewarding job than the marketing. Am I right in saying that? Because you're actually helping people. You can see a difference. You can see a change.
Yeah. It's very rewarding in the long term because you see that sea change of behaviour maybe 3, 6, 12 months down the line. So, for example, I used to work for Department of Energy and Climate Change, and we launched an initiative called RHI, Renewable Heat Incentive, which was to get consumers, both domestic and non-domestic properties or businesses, moving away from gas boilers and fossil fuels to air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, air-to-air heat pumps, solar PV panels. You may have noticed I've got a 20 kilowatt array on my roof here.
I did notice.
So I'm generating electricity from daylight, not sunlight, and it's not costing me an absolute penny. So this entire house, the reason I have all the lights on is it's not costing me a penny. But
wow,
going back, so that initiative we launched in, I think it was 2011. 11, 12 years later, now I personally begin to see the fruits of hard work from 10, 11 years ago, because now the majority of houses have PV panels or air source heat pumps, and renewables is standard terminology today, whereas 10 years ago, if you talk to somebody about air source heat pumps or renewable energy or technology or solar PV arrays, they were going, what?
Yeah, like it was just something that wasn't in conversation, was it?
Exactly. Like 25 years ago or 30 years ago when I first moved to London, we talk about, web strategies or the internet, what's that?
Yeah.
Gone are the days of like memos and faxes and, that's a long time ago. I'm showing my age now, but I'm still single.
So what happened after that? Where did you go after doing government communications?
So after government communications, I decided to take a step in a different direction. So I got engaged to a guy from Northern Ireland, from Belfast.
Congratulations.
It didn't quite work out. There's a story there. So I sold my house in London for a very large amount of money. I was working for David Cameron at the time on a great campaign. Britain is great and green is great and technology is great.
Yes.
Gave up all of that and moved to Belfast. Bought a lovely house and decided to be a house husband and rescue dogs.
Oh.
So I did that and I stayed in Northern Ireland for 6 years. Unfortunately, the wedding didn't happen because a guy disappeared a few days before the wedding.
Shut up.
Hence, I'm still single, but got over that, yes.
What, just disappeared? Like,
Disappeared
you came home
overnight.
and he wasn't there?
I went to the gym and I came back and he had just disappeared. Yes, never to be seen again.
I'm
I know.
so sorry.
No, not to worry. It's out of my system and these things happen for a reason.
Yes,
And
he wasn't the right person for you.
Exactly, and I dodged a silver bullet, as my friends would have said.
Absolutely.
And these things happen for a reason, and
Did you ever find out why?
it was internalized homophobia because he was Catholic. So, there were some demons inside of him.
Dodged a bullet.
Dodged a really big...
Dodged a huge bullet. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
We don't need people like that in our
And the Pope
lives.
sent me an email and said, good on you, Parool. Dodged that bullet.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I moved to Northern Ireland. I ended up working for a charity over there and project managed the Belfast City Marathons. And then I ended up just doing charity work and eventually worked for the Brexit programme.
Oh!
Yeah, so I helped communicate aspects of the Brexit programme as it was going in and out of Parliament. We were changing our script and all kinds of stuff, 60, 70 times a day. Very stressful. I would be commuting from flying from Belfast to Leeds or to Birmingham on a daily basis. And it was exhausting work, but very rewarding because now that Brexit has happened, I don't know whether Brexit is or not, but I am, we're now seeing the benefit of being outside of the European Union.
Okay, amazing. Kind of off camera for a second.
Okay.
My brother did a similar thing.
Did he?
My brother, he did Article 50. He helped push it through.
Right.
Is that the same thing in Belfast?
Well, no.
And he worked for the government?
Yes, I worked for...
I can't say that on camera though, because obviously.
I worked for Department of Transport, so I was part of the Northern Ireland Protocol.
Okay.
And sorting out all the technology systems behind the scenes to get customs systems set up. So when goods were going from Great Britain into Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom, and then travelling down to ERA or the South, which was then part of the EU, we had to ensure that technology solution was set up. So I worked for HMRC helping set up, the IT systems and stuff.
Oh, wow. I'll say his name, probably won't know him. Luke Montague.
Whereabouts did he work? Did he work for DCTUK?
So he worked for the Treasury, I think.
Treasury, okay.
What was he doing? It was like the...
Well, it wasn't to do...
It was Brexit.
It wasn't solely to do with Brexit. It was to do with bartering peace between Northern
Yeah.
and Southern Ireland.
Yeah. So I worked for the NI
Maybe.
Protocol, which was basically the movement of goods transiting through Northern Ireland down to the south.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yes.
And then how long did you stay in Ireland for?
So I stayed in Northern Ireland for
Northern Ireland, sorry.
6 years and 1 day. And then I moved here. I bought this house during lockdown. I bought this house via WhatsApp.
No.
Yeah, so my university friend's father, John, bless him, he lives down the road. He came here and took a video of the house, and I watched it via WhatsApp and said, "Can you open that cupboard? Can you check that socket? Can you look at that view?" And he gave it a really good review, and I thought, yeah, that's the house for me. And I bought it during lockdown, and then in Northern Ireland, lockdown finished about 3 weeks after Great Britain, and on the I think it's the 8th of October last year, I moved here. Sorry, 8th of October, 2020, 21. Yeah,
2 years ago.
2020. No, sorry, 2020. So, beg your pardon. No, 2021.
2021. So a year ago.
A year ago, and
Wow.
about 4 weeks. Yeah, I moved here.
Why here? Because it really is kind of like nowhere near London, nowhere near Birmingham. It's right
Well,
in
there's
the
a
sticks,
story.
but not in the sticks.
There's a story. So during lockdown, I got very stir crazy, and I wanted to move back to Great Britain, and I shortlisted 4 cities: Glasgow, Edinburgh, Leeds, and Newcastle. I saw some houses in Glasgow, but out of my price range. Edinburgh had house prices literally on a par with London. I just thought unaffordable.
It's crazy, right?
Leeds, I'd been looking for 2 years, and again, I saw some houses, but Leeds has some issues in terms of, I work in Leeds and I love it there, but I wanted somewhere which was a little bit quieter. So I chose Newcastle, and I put in a house offer on a house in South Gosforth, one in Heaton, one in Hexham, one in close to Cramlington. But I kept getting gazumped because Newcastle is one of the places to be at the moment. It's got the levelling up agenda here.
Yes.
The economy here is fairly good. Unemployment is not that rife. It's a very safe, easy city to live in. So I saw this house first and I didn't like it because it's got some steep steps coming down to the front door.
Yeah.
And this house sat on the market for about 9 months and it was quite dated. Everywhere was beige and brown and nothing matched. But what was unique about the house was it's built into the side of a hill. So 9 months later, I thought, right, I've lost out on these 4 or 5 houses elsewhere. I put in a cheeky offer here, and it got accepted. So I just bought it.
It's actually amazing.
Yes.
I love the two, like the way the stairs go.
Yes, absolutely.
It's very Art Deco, actually.
It's a 1970s house. This house was built in 1971. Same year I was born, hence I'm 51. But age does not matter. It's just a number. So I bought this house because it's a 4-storey house, but it's sunk into the side of a hill. And from the street, you can't tell this house is that big.
It's 4 stories?
It's 4 stories high.
Wow,
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so we're on the ground floor. The next floor is the kitchen floor and the study floor. And the next floor, I've got 3 bedrooms. And on the top floor, there's a garage and a bathroom. So
Whoa.
the garage on the top floor is at street level. So 3 floors are actually built inside of a hill. It's perfect.
Oh, I totally get it now.
Yeah.
I was just expecting like a garage on the top of it, and I thought, how on earth did you get anything down?
Yeah.
But I see what you mean.
It's really
Because
unique.
it's a hill.
Absolutely,
Oh, that is
yeah.
wonderful. And I bet this in London would just be...
Oh, this would be worth about 1.2 million pounds. Hence moving out of regions because you get a lot more value for your money. That's what I'll
Bang
say.
for your buck, right?
Absolutely. As you can see, I'm extending out there as well. So once that's finished, this will be worth a lot of money.
So is this going to be your extension? Is this going to be a living room as well? Is it going to be the whole living room?
Well, that's going to be the living room. That's going to be the party room. It's going to be the cinema room, and there's going to be a big dining room table going right down the middle. This, I think, I'll stage up to be like a snooker room or a pool room.
Oh, that's so cool.
Adds value to the property.
Yeah, it does.
That's my gym over there. It used to be a sunroom. That's my gym.
It's a great
the dining room, and then I've got a converted garage, which is a dog room. So the dogs sit there, and at street level, they can see everyone walking past. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
So what's the future for you? What do you want to do?
So the next thing is I've got a house on the market in Belfast. So I'm now looking to buy another project. I'd like to do a self-build.
Wow.
I'd like to build my own house with a kit. And I've seen a company in Poland where you build the base, you get all the services installed, and then within 10 working days they will build a house from scratch. And the only thing I need to do is install a kitchen.
Whoa.
Yes, it's a complete turnkey solution. They're absolutely amazing homes, and the way they're designed, the central heating system is actually in the middle of the house rather than around the perimeter, so it keeps the house even warmer.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So I like to do a self-build eco home with an air source heat pump, a ground source heat pump, solar PV panels, all the gizmos, all the stuff I've been promoting for the last 20, 30 years, and live the dream and walk the talk.
Oh, I absolutely love that.
In fact, I'm going to see a house on Saturday in a place called Greenside, which is about 3-4 miles away. So I'm going to see a plot of land as well. So fingers crossed it works out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about career-wise? What's the future?
Well, I'm currently working for a university. I'm a contractor, so I move around a lot. I've got an opportunity to work back in defence, education again, and also working in digital taxation. But
Amazing.
I'd like to do something different. I'd like to actually realise my dream and become a full-time property developer and interior designer.
Yeah.
That's my dream.
You would be amazing.
Yes.
Like, I have just bought a house and I'm like, shall I call him and ask him what I should do in my house?
Absolutely. I'll give you some ideas and concepts and
Honestly,
mood boards and stuff.
I think it is a talent because you have to have an eye for it, don't you?
You either can do it or you can't. For me,
Yes.
I find it's really intuitive, and that wallpaper from ilovewallpaper.com. That wallpaper from John Lewis.
Wow.
These sofas are actually from a few years ago from IKEA. I've just pulled it together and it just works really well. And you can I just go into a room and I know I'm going to do this, that, and the other. So when I walked into this house, it was 1970s. This was a brick wall. This is four coats of paint. And I thought, in white that will look really, look really nice, whitewashed and backdropped. There's a fireplace behind it I've ripped out. The actual fire, but the fireplace is still here. I just walked around, having seen the WhatsApp video that my friend's father had taped. I thought, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And it just has worked. And even before I bought the house, I planned that extension. I designed it. Haven't built it. I designed it. I knew exactly what I was going to do.
I love it. I feel like this isn't the last we'll hear from you.
It isn't, absolutely not. And I'm going to obviously be buying some more flooring. This is my 8th house. I'd like to do a self-build, and then eventually I'd like to live abroad.
Oh, whereabouts?
I think either Canada.
Oh, I've heard amazing things
absolutely.
for like living and...
Yeah, my parents live in Spain primarily. I like Canada. I think it would be a nice, interesting place to live. And Canadians are absolutely amazing people. Very honest, very down to earth, incredibly polite. And I've not lived in North America, so I think that would be good. I might also venture to the Caribbean one day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Caribbean. I've lived in Paris, I've lived in Berlin, I've lived in Sydney, I've lived in Melbourne, I've lived in Belfast, I've lived in London, I've lived in Leeds. God, this sounds like a Laura Ashley advert, doesn't it? It's like London, Montreal, Belfast, Washington.
DC.
Washington, DC rather than Washington, Tyne and Queer. Yeah, Tyne and Queer.
I love, do you know, when you email me, you give me exclamation mark on your address, and I was like,
yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me.
That's my pleasure.
Before we go off camera, is there anything you want me to ask? Any questions you want me to ask that will promote you or your business or whatever? Or your doggies? Anything?
What kind of man do I like?
Oh, let's do it. Okay.
Stiller.
So go on then. What kind of man are you looking for? Because there's so many people watch this podcast.
Absolutely.
And there might be an eligible young man ready and waiting.
Absolutely. So the ideal type clearly is not on Grindr. He would be blonde hair, blue-eyed. He'll have a toned, muscular, healthy lifestyle and body. Ideally vegetarian with a good smile, educated, well-spoken, a man of erudition. Ideally vegetarian, non-smoking. I've probably mentioned that already. And a really good outlook on life and personality. And likes Gaysians.
Well, you have such like a sunshiny personality, and that sounds very cliche, but you've got so much energy. You're so positive, optimistic.
Thank you.
You're like a real ray of sunshine, and I'm sure somebody would be really lucky to have you as their partner.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
And you know it.
And the phone was going to be at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, we're going to have it when they do it on the TV when it goes across the bottom.
Absolutely,
like on shopping channels.
Yes. But calls won't call 25 pence. Calls will not cost 25 pence per minute. It'll be free of charge.
If you're lucky enough, though, right? Because you've got to be lucky enough. Thank you so much for chatting to me. It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you for letting me stroke these doggies the whole time. I am in heaven. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the podcast. We'll be back soon with another one. See you soon.